Emily Vass is our next speaker, and she has made it her mission to make finance feel a lot less frightening and not so complicated. Emily, she's a chartered accountant and she's also a content creator herself. So if you are not following her on Instagram, please do. She's also the founder of Nourished Accounting, which is a fast-growing practice built around supporting small businesses and particularly online creators just like you. With that, I'll pass on and welcome Emily warmly to our MTD Virtual Summit. Thank you so much for joining us, Emily.
Thank you so much, Reshma. What an introduction. I should have you on everything. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody. If you're a creator, freelancer, or have just seen headlines about MTD and felt confused, stressed, or just tempted to ignore it completely, this is the session for you. And I'm going to help you move from chaotic to confident, making sure that you feel clear on exactly what's changing, when it affects you, and exactly what you need to do to get MTD ready. There should be time for questions at the end, but just pop them in the box and we'll get to them in good time. Reshma's done a great job of introducing me already, but I'm Emily, a chartered accountant, founder of Nourished, and a content creator. So I definitely understand what it's like to have complicated income streams and not necessarily understand how to get them digital and ready for MTD. So today we're going to be talking about what is MTD and what does it really mean for you and your business? Who does it impact and when? What your MTD deadlines are and how to keep track of them. And then 5 easy steps to get MTD ready, before hopefully a bit of time at the end for a Q&A. So, what actually is making tax digital? In simple terms, HMRC is changing how sole traders and landlords have to report their income and expenses. If you've been a sole trader or self-employed for a while, you're probably used to the current system. You do one self-assessment tax return each year, and it's due by the following 31st of January. What that means for a lot of people is Canva invoices, maybe a pile of receipts, and if you're lucky, a spreadsheet. Then there's normally panic in January to get that tax return done and in on time. With MTD, all of that changes. Instead, you're going to need accurate digital records. You'll have to make quarterly submissions of your income and expenses, and then a final declaration at the year end. This is most similar to your current tax return. That means instead of one deadline, you're going to now have 5 touch points each year with HMRC. It's worth noting these aren't tax returns. It doesn't change when you'll have to pay your tax bill at this stage. So, what does that actually practically mean for you? It's time to say goodbye to Excel. Spreadsheets or bank statements are no longer going to be enough, and instead you'll need clearer digital financial records that will allow you to make your MTD submissions. There are more deadlines, and these can come with penalties. So it's really, really important that you understand your key dates and add some reminders into your calendar so you don't miss them. It's not all doom and gloom though. The good news is that MTD should give a lot of you more clarity. Having up-to-date numbers and an idea of what your next tax bill is going to look like can help you plan better for the future and grow your business. So who does MTD actually impact? You'll need to register from April 2026 if you're self-employed or have property income, you've already registered for self-assessment and have done at least one tax return, and your qualifying income is over £50,000. If HMRC thinks that you need to register, you may have already received notification in the post. If not, keep an eye out for it. Qualifying income can be really confusing, so let's just have a quick look at a couple of scenarios. Let's say you're a part-time content creator. You're earning £65,000 of employment income, and you're earning £18,000 a year as a creator. In this case, you do not need to register for MTD, as your qualifying income is only 18,000 and therefore under the threshold, even though your total income is much higher than the threshold. But what if you're a freelance creator and let's say you also have a rental property? You make £30,000 of freelance income and £25,000 of rental income. In this case, although both of your income streams are under the threshold, in total, you have £55,000 of qualifying income, so you would need to register. Lastly, and this is the one I've seen catch a lot of people out, if you're a creator and you have income of £52,000, but you also have expenses of £15,000, you're only making a profit of £37,000. Although this is the number that you're used to getting taxed on your self-assessment tax return, you still need to register for MTD as your income is over £50,000. So that's the key here. Focus on your income, not your profit. You might be thinking, amazing, I'm off the hook. But before you switch off, just remember that those thresholds are going to be reducing over the next few years. So even if it doesn't impact you this April, it's still worth getting ready and understanding when MTD will impact your business. So it's £30,000 from April 27 and £20,000 from April 28. Speaking of getting ready, these are the dates that you need to know. MTD splits the tax year into 4 quarters. So from the 6th of April till the 5th of July and so on and so forth. You then have until the following 7th of the following month to file your submissions. So if we look at the first quarter, it ends on the 5th of July and then you have until the 7th of August to make your first quarterly submission. These are not tax returns. They have less adjustments and they're filed directly from your software. You can DIY your quarterly submissions, or you could get help from an accountant or bookkeeper to do it for you. I understand that those dates can be pretty confusing, so there is an option to simplify things and align it with the calendar month instead. So 1st of April to the 30th of June, and so on and so forth. It's worth noting this does not change your MTD deadlines, still the 7th of August and thereafter. But it can make things simpler to understand. Just make sure you make the election in your software when you register. So the 3 most important dates for your diary at the beginning are the 1st or the 6th of April, when you need to have started using approved software. The 7th of August 2026, which is that first quarterly submission deadline. And then the 31st of January 2028 will be the first deadline of an annual tax return where you've been doing MTD. So you do still have some time to prepare, but it is the 2nd of March. So if it's going to impact you this year, you need to take action and register now. I would highly recommend putting the quarter end dates in your diary, set them up to reoccur so that you've got a prompt to remind you every time to do your submission so it's never late. So how on earth do you actually get ready for MTD? We're going to cover this in 5 simple steps. So to start with, you want to understand where you are today. Check your latest tax return. You're going to want to look at the total of your self-employed and property, if you have any, income. If you don't know where to look, it's these 3 boxes as shown in these screenshots. Or you can go to the HMRC website where they do have a tool to help you figure it out. If it's over 50k, you'll need to register. But a top tip, if your first tax return covered less than a year, you may need to adjust the income and scale it up to 12 months. This can get a little complicated, so it might be worth speaking to HMRC or an accountant to understand whether or not you need to register. Then, before we dive in, we want to make a plan. You need to ask yourself the following questions. Is your current system MTD ready? It may be that several of you are already using software that's on the HMRC approved list, which includes Zoho Books. Are you going to DIY MTD or get support? If you don't already have an accountant or a bookkeeper helping you, it might be time to get some extra hands-on support with your finances. Alternatively, MTD is something that you can do yourself, but you're probably going to want to do a bit of research and familiarise yourself with what those quarterly submissions look like. Lastly, is remaining a sole trader the right choice for you? MTD doesn't impact limited company directors in the same way as sole traders, and therefore, depending on the size of your creator income or your business, it might be worth considering if making the switch to limited is the right choice rather than becoming registered for MTD. Again, this isn't something to rush into, and I'd highly recommend speaking to an accountant if you're unsure of what's right for you. Let's assume you've decided that you need to register. The next step is to head to the government website and get to registering. Alternatively, if you do have an accountant or bookkeeper known by HMRC as an agent, they can do this for you. You'll need some basic information about your business, including the start date when you became self-employed, the year that you'll need to start doing MTD, and your business name, address, and nature of your business. This is your trade or industry. I know creators can often find it very difficult to put themselves in an industry box, but this is where something like advertising and marketing or entertainment could be the right choices for you, depending on the type of content you create and how you generate your income. Next, this is the biggest shift. You're going to want to choose your software. Now, if you're a creator that has literally been doing their tax returns based on bank statements, this is a big shift. But essentially, software allows you to do a few key things. Good software should include a bank feed. This enables you to link your business bank account straight into the software. It's really important for MTD purposes that you are using a separate bank account for all of your creator income and expenses. It makes things much cleaner and allows you to use whatever software you choose to its fullest ability. You link in your bank account and your bank statements will automatically be pulled through into the software, allowing you to categorize your income and expenses. Most of the big software providers offer a free trial, so don't be afraid to check out different software options and see what works best for you and your business. And lastly, you're going to want to consider pricing. It does vary wildly between software providers, and some, like Zoho, do offer free tiers that allow you some MTD compatibility or paid for options depending on features that you want and need. It's definitely worth making sure that you get comfortable with software now, rather than rushing and trying to make it work for you in April. Lastly, now is the time to get ready. Whether MTD impacts you from April 26, April 27, or beyond, I'd highly recommend not waiting to start using software. You're going to want to practice. If you're currently used to making invoices on Canva or just sending people emails asking for money at the end of brand deals, we've all been there. It is an adjustment, but it's really worth leaning into the benefits of MTD for your creator businesses. We all know what it's like to be paid late by brands, but there are so many features as part of digital software that can really level up your business. For example, automated invoice chasing, where you make invoices on the software and then you can automate reminders if things are late or about to be late. It can massively increase your chances of getting paid on time. You're also going to want to automate as many things as possible. Think about how you collect your receipts, how you get those into software. Are there any reoccurring expenses that you could set up so that they're automatically coded? For example, if you've got subscriptions to software like CapCut or Adobe that need to go in the same place every month. The easier that you can make your bookkeeping, the simpler it's going to be to stay MTD compliant. If you are unsure, I'd highly recommend speaking to an accountant or a bookkeeper, even if it's for some one-off advice to make sure that your systems are set up correctly for MTD. Ideally, MTD shouldn't feel like a shock. It should simply feel like a continuation of good habits. So, I hope this overview has helped you feel more confident about your next steps to get MTD ready. If you have any questions about how to manage your creator finances, whether that's MTD or beyond, I share free finance content on Instagram and TikTok. And if you scan this QR code, you can also connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions there. And I would be happy to help. I think we have got some questions in the box.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much, Emily, for the session. Okay, now moving on to the questions tab.
Amazing. So, what is the right format to receive income and expenses from your clients? So I think the key here is really, it depends what your income streams look like. Evidence looks different for different businesses, especially as creators, when you might have very diverse income streams and be earning money from, let's say, platforms like TikTok, as well as brand deals. The key is keeping as much evidence as possible and trying to run everything through one bank account where possible so that you've got a clear bank feed. So for a brand deal, that might be an actual invoice. If it's platform income like TikTok or YouTube, it might be a download that you can take or a screenshot showing the proof of payment. If it's something like affiliate income, most of those do statements that you can download and put in your software to support and back up the payout. For expenses, sometimes it's things like emails that prove your subscriptions, and other times it will be actual paper receipts that you'll want to take photos of. It's just key to make sure that you've got good, clear evidence, especially when you're shopping at places like, let's say, Amazon, where you're not going to be able to tell from your bank statement whether you bought a tripod or equipment that was genuinely to do with your business, or whether you were just shopping for your personal needs. So especially in those areas, it's really important that you've got good quality evidence and support.
I have a follow-up question to that. I think in a couple of our past webinars and even in our roadshows, a lot of people had asked about separating your personal expense from your business expense.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that for creators?
It's really, really important. And actually, when I speak to a lot of creators and they come on as clients, it's something a lot of creators haven't done yet. And that's fine. I think for most people, creation starts as a hobby and you start to earn a small amount of income and it goes straight into your personal bank account. And I understand the idea of setting up another one can be quite overwhelming. But there are lots of free bank account options, and having that separation really, really helps. It's always helped with your tax return, but for MTD, it is even more important, because if everything is all combined, it makes it very difficult to make use of those things like bank feeds in software, and therefore makes the whole process a lot more manual and a lot more time consuming. So really, step one, if you haven't got one already, is to set up a separate bank account and try to move over all of your costs. Especially with things like software, reoccurring direct debits that's easy to forget to switch, just get them all on one account. It will make your life so, so much easier.
Thank you. All right. So we move on to the next one. I think there's another one from Kate. I think she missed your first initial couple of slides. I think where you were summarizing the basics.
Yeah, we can go back to those in a second, no problem. There was also a question about no Excel. You're right, there are bridging software solutions, and that is definitely an option for some people. I think for businesses that are more complex, especially creators that have lots and lots of different types of revenue streams, Excel and bridging software tends to be less appropriate. If you are a kind of contractor client that's got very, very simple income and expenses, bridging software solutions might be possible, especially if cost is very, very relevant. But I would say in general, it doesn't tend to be the best approach for most people. It's not a complete goodbye, and I do still use Excel for lots of other things. Won't be deleting it, that's for sure. But I think the days where most people were running things off a spreadsheet are going to be behind us. And software can be really affordable and can make things a lot more automated and simpler.
And not to mention, I think with MTD, it's HMRC also has a lot of free options. Obviously, Zoho is one of them, but then there are a lot of other free options available that businesses can try. For really simple needs where you have like, I don't know, 10, 15 transactions, I'm sure there is a lot of challenge to adopt software where you don't need one.
Exactly. And there are also options that are tailored to different types of income. There are landlord-specific options if you've got, a very simple setup, like one rental property, for example. HMRC's got a really great tool on their website that allows you to kind of put in your needs and what you're willing to spend and give you some suggestions. So if you aren't sure what's right for you, take a look. And as I mentioned, use those free trials. Some of the bridging software options have free trials as well. Have a play around with them. Some of them do require you to be a little bit more understanding of Excel macros and things like that, and be able to use Excel a bit more complexly depending on the option. So it's about trialing whatever you're going to use and making sure you're happy with it before MTD kicks in.
Yeah. All right. We have a couple of more questions from Stephen. Yeah.
What sort of advice would you give clients to help calm their nerves? Yeah, I think one of the things I see a lot is that creators get really stressed out by this stuff. Most of the time, they've started earning money online because they're great at content. They don't really want to be sat doing numbers. So I think there is a scenario where you just have to accept that part of the reason you're having to do this is you've created something amazing. You've created you've created a platform where at some point you had 0 followers and you're now earning income from that. And it is a business now. I think people see, content as a side hustle often at the start, but if you're hitting those kind of thresholds that mean you're impacted by MTD, you have grown a very successful business. And it's important to start viewing it that way. So if it's something you're really uncomfortable with, that's where getting help from an accountant or a bookkeeper can be a great idea. And if it's something that you want to be more confident about, I think it's about educating yourself. Do follow along on my content on social media, as well as many others who are creating great, really digestible content to help you understand finance. One of my kind of key core values at Nourished is that there is no such thing as a silly question. We didn't get taught this stuff at school, at least most of us didn't. So don't be afraid to be inquisitive, be curious, ask your questions, and get the answers that you need. There is no shame in not understanding, whether it's MTD or anything else to do with finance, because it's complicated. But you will be able to run your business, price better, feel more confident if you truly are empowered to understand your numbers. So get involved would be my advice there, Stephen. And in terms of kind of calming your nerves around finances, I think the other big thing that can really help people is that planning for tax piece, which I think MTD will really help with. Those quarterly submissions are going to allow you to see what your future tax bills might look like sooner, allowing you to kind of make sure that you are saving enough money and that you're building that buffer for future you as well. Because I definitely see a lot of creators caught out by that January rush at the moment, and hopefully MTD will help with that and allow you to save for tax nicely in advance of that January payment deadline.
I think the whole MTD, in a way, it's more like a streamlining of processes, right? You were earlier talking to your accountant or bookkeeper once a year, but now you get that opportunity 4 times a year, and you're just systematically maintaining those records, which makes it a lot more easier for you to manage your business finances. So definitely not something to be scared of, but it's something that you need to spend some more time for sure.
Yeah. I think there was a great question about whether you're expected to scan and submit all the receipts. No, you don't need to send every single receipt over to HMRC, but the rules haven't changed that you are still expected to have evidence for 5 years after your tax return is submitted. That's actually a really long timeline. If you think about it, the tax year ends in April, you don't submit your tax return until the following 31st of January, 5 years after that. I'm not sure about you, but I think I'd struggle to find a receipt from 5 months ago, let alone 5 years. So I really do recommend using that digital software, whatever you use, to its fullest ability. Use it to store receipts, match things in against transactions. It would make your life a lot easier if your return was ever investigated in the future, and means that you've got really robust records with everything supported. That's the gold standard, ideally. Does it sometimes happen that you won't have a receipt for a transaction? Sure. But it's about trying to make sure that you capture as many things as you can in the easiest, simplest way for you.
You brought up a good point about maintaining the records for 5 years. So at that time, I think spreadsheet doesn't really add value over there, right? If you're using a bridging software, what does it?
The bridging softwares do vary, and also the way people use Excel varies. Some people have got massive folders of receipts and they hyperlink everything in, and there are options. That's incredibly manual compared to what software could offer you. But if you're the kind of business owner that is literally raising 3 invoices a year because you're doing big consultancy contracts and it's barely anything, then you just keep them in a folder. It's not too complicated. I do think for creators that doesn't tend to be the right way forward, because almost everybody I work with has got at least 2 or 3 more income streams, brand deals, platform income, affiliate income, merchandise, digital products, events, all kinds of different things. And it's really important that all of those are captured as part of your MTD submissions. And that's where software can make things a lot easier, and putting things all through a bank account is really, really important too.
Got it. Well, thank you so much, Emily. Let's see if we have any more questions.
No problem. I might just fly back through the slides for Kate, just to pop up those key criteria at the beginning. But essentially, the thing that you need to be aware of is who it impacts. So understanding your qualifying income. There were a couple of suggestions. I know these sessions are recorded, so you can probably watch it back on the replay. But I think if you're not sure about your qualifying income, not profit, then there is a really great tool on HMRC that you can use, or you can speak to an accountant, or go back through your tax return and check those specific boxes. They're screenshotted in the presentation here, she says, on step 1. So these 3 boxes, if you zoom in, they are the actual boxes on your tax return form. So if you look at your SA 100 from last year, they're in the supplementary pages. So this one's in the supplementary page for self-employment income, and these 2 are in there for property income. If you have it, you can literally add up the numbers in those boxes, and if they're over 50k, you need to register, and if they're over 30k or 20k, you'll need to register soon.
Thank you so much, Emily. I think, we're done with the questions. Thank you once again, Emily. Thank you for taking your time and being with us today, and for simplifying MTD. I'm sure that it brought clarity to a lot of people.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you.